Hey everyone, content warning for this video. I will be discussing in various amounts of detail gay conversion therapy, incest, non-consensual drugging, and sexual assault. It is definitely a bit of a heavier video, so if you are not in the headspace to hear these sorts of topics discussed, feel free to click off. If I may recommend a video to you, Blue Cosmic is releasing a companion piece to this video that is much more lighthearted and focuses on gameplay. That video will be linked in the description and this video's end card. When Fire Emblem Awakening #saved the franchise, it did so by introducing dating elements to the tactics simulation gameplay that we all know and love. In fact, much of Awakening's story and gameplay is explicitly about the dating sim aspects of Fire Emblem. You play matchmaker with the soldiers in the army and are rewarded with new units via time traveling, which is a key part of the story. Additionally, since Awakening has a self-insert, there was a more traditional dating sim aspect of the game where you could choose one of your favorite anime protagonists and end up marrying them. There is, of course, much debate within the Fire Emblem community as to how good and or bad these elements are, but for our purposes, the most important criticism that I have is that Awakening was incredibly heterosexual. There are definitely characters and even pairings that have some queer undertones, but the only marriage you were allowed to participate in was straight marriage. So when it was revealed that the follow-up, Fire Emblem Fates, would allow the avatar to enter into same-sex relationships, queer fans rejoiced. But unfortunately, as is the case with basically every element of Fates' stories, they fumbled it pretty hard. This felt like a one step forward, 300 steps back situation. The game had multiple queer or queer adjacent characters, like Niles, Rajat, Nina, Soleil, and Forest, but every single one of them drew a significant amount of ire and criticism. Perhaps the most controversial, though, was Soleil. She is the bisexual daughter of Laszlo, aka Inigo, a fan-favorite character who returned from Awakening. But despite her bisexuality being a big part of her character gimmick, she is not allowed to have any sapphic romantic pairings, and that includes female Corrin. The bisexual woman can marry the male avatar, but not the female one. However, even divorced from her inability to marry female Corrin, her support with male Corrin has let's just say a lot of baggage tied to it. Before the game's international release, the Japanese support was translated and leaked online, and it was described by many as endorsing or depicting conversion therapy. This story was picked up and reported on by several gaming news outlets, and because the internet is the internet, apparently people decided to harass the person who posted the translated support conversation as if it was their fault what the contents of the translated conversation were. Understandably not wanting to deal with that level of harassment, the translator deleted their post, and when the game was ported to the West, the support between Corrin and Soleil was changed. When these sorts of change happens, usually the reason is that localization teams felt that the content would be uncomfortable for audiences in the country that they are localizing towards. This all but confirmed what was already rumored. The Japanese support between Soleil and Corrin was conversion therapy. And honestly, this was believable. Fates is the game, after all, that encourages you to have incest marriages with your siblings, only to get coupons of not blood-related after all, it turns out. And then, if you play the Revelations route, you learn that one of the marriages the game encourages you to go into is with your cousin. With this in mind, and all of the other weirdness that Fates has around LGBT issues, a conversion therapy support does not feel beyond the pale. But did it actually happen? Well, I've managed to get my hands on a directly translated, unlocalized version of the Soleil Corrin support. And so, in this video, I'm gonna go over that support chain, talk about what happens in it, how I feel about the topics brought up, how they're handled, what's done well, what's done poorly, if anything is problematic, and at the end of the day, we can determine whether or not Fire Emblem truly did have a support conversation about conversion therapy. The C support begins with Corrin, aka Kamui, noticing that Soleil seems down, and asking her what is wrong. She says that she's worried about something she doesn't think Corrin will be able to understand. Corrin says that he would be able to understand basically anything, and Soleil says, well, if you're overconfident, I guess I have to tell you about it, and says that she has a weakness. This weakness, according to Soleil, is likely going to stop her from ever becoming the strong and cool woman that she desires to be. When Corin asks what the weakness is, Soleil says that it is cute girls, and Corin says that he already knew that, but Soleil elaborates that whenever she's around a cool girl, she gets so flustered that she will faint, confessing that her recent injury, which Corin thought was a result of the battle, was actually because she fainted when she saw a cute girl. After Soleil leaves, Corin resolves to assist her with this situation. I can see how, without any further context, the idea of Corin training Soleil to no longer be flustered around women could seem like an echo of conversion therapy. But I would argue that, at least looking at the C support, this interpretation is unwarranted. Soleil's problem isn't that she's attracted to women, it's that she becomes so flustered as to become incompetent when around them. This is an issue that we've seen in other Fire Emblem characters, such as Long Q from this game's direct predecessor. I don't think people would view a support chain where he learns not to be nervous around women as converting him to being gay, so similarly, I don't see Corin's plan here as being akin to conversion therapy. Things get significantly more dicey moving into the B support, as Corin approaches Soleil and Soleil is confused, not recognizing him. Corin says it seems it was a great success and reveals that he, in fact, drugged Soleil with a substance that causes her to see boys as girls and girls as boys. Upon revealing that he drugged her drink, Corin says that he did this so that he can help Soleil confront her weakness. She can practice being comfortable around him while she sees him as a girl, and then that will translate to her being comfortable around other cute girls. Corin then starts getting closer to Soleil and thanking her for saving the city, and she expresses simultaneously being uncomfortable but excited. Soleil thanks Corin for the practice and then rushes off because she wants to look at what the other men in the army look like as girls. Okay, so this section of the support is really fucking bad. And I shouldn't have to explain why, but in case you're wondering, somebody spiking someone's drink with a drug is a bad thing. And the support sort of writes it off as if Corin is just like well-intentioned but lacks social skills, which is a thing that comes up in a lot of his supports just because he was raised in isolation, but I think there's a difference between being well-intentioned and lacking social skills and making some mistakes based on that, versus spiking someone's drink without their consent or knowledge, and having it just brushed off as if, oh, Corin, you goofus, you just don't know how society works, oh, you goofball. Like, Soleil isn't even mad at him for spiking her drink. She's thankful that he does this effort to help her practice and be less nervous. And on that topic, she is less nervous around female Corin, or male Corin who looks like female Corin. She talks about feeling a combination of being uncomfortable but also excited, and this is the beginnings of Soleil falling in love with Corin. In their S support, she'll talk about how she realizes that she first started falling in love with him when she saw him as a girl. And I don't like that. I don't like that at all. Not because I don't like her falling in love with him because she sees him as a girl, but because she begins a romance with him based on him spiking her drink. The implications of that are really, really fucking bad. And just to head off the bad faith defenses that I know are going to be in the comment section, this isn't me coming at this from some ignorant Western perspective. Japanese audiences were also extremely offended by this support. That's part of why it was changed in the localization, is it got such bad reception in the Japanese release, just due to how unseriously it treated the topic of drugging someone's drink. This is a common way in which people will commit sexual assault by drugging their victim's drink. It's fucked up, and it should be treated more seriously than this support treats it. That being said, while this is a very bad support, I don't think it constitutes conversion therapy. Yes, Soleil starts falling in love with Corin, who is a boy, because she sees him as a girl, but remember, Soleil has never identified as a lesbian, neither in the English nor Japanese version. She's always been bisexual, so she's always been attracted to men. Soleil beginning to feel attraction towards a man, Corin in this instance, isn't conversion therapy because bisexual people can be attracted to men. In the A support, we learn that despite the special training that Corin and Soleil have been doing, Soleil is still incredibly nervous around cute girls and ends up fainting when villagers congratulate her on saving them. She initially apologizes to Corin for not improving, but Corin tells her that she doesn't have to apologize. Improvement doesn't come overnight. And Soleil realizes that Corin's right. It's fine to not immediately overcome her weakness, and she's going to keep practicing and trying to improve on it. She also says that even though the special training didn't have the results that she wanted, she's happy that they tried and that this showed that Corin cares about her. And she wants to spend more time with Corin, continuing to do their training, saying that she finds the girl version of Corin very appealing, but she also likes spending time with Corin when he's not using the magic powder. This scene, again, is not something that I would consider conversion therapy for basically the same reasons as the C and B support. I also like that the resolution of the support isn't Soleil solving her problem, but accepting that she has that weakness and that she's going to need to work at it. The fact that her happiness comes from the fact her friends are willing to help her, rather than just instantly overcoming her problem, is a more realistic approach to someone having a problem. This is, of course, undercut by the fact that, again, the help was drugging her drink, which was handled very poorly. But if you ignore that, the rest of the support is something that I think is really nice. Soleil has a problem, her friend tries to help her solve the problem, and even though they're not successful, she's able to take solace and happiness in the fact that her friend helped her. Because sometimes just having someone who cares about you is enough to make things feel better. And while that is the ending for the non-romantic story, if Corin chooses to pursue a romance with Soleil, you get the S support. In it, Corin proposes to Soleil, and Soleil admits that she has been in love with him since the first day that she saw him as a girl. Kamui is taken aback by this, and asks if Soleil is only in love with the female version of him, to which she says no, she likes both the male and female version of him. She says despite seeing all of the other men in the army gender bent, the only one who made her swoon was Corin. She is in love with him as a boy and in love with him as a girl. She then asks Corin if he wants to grab her boobs, and honestly, I admire the confidence. But, yeah, I would say that, if anything, rather than being conversion therapy, this romance scene fully embraces Soleil's bisexuality, showing her as being in love with Corin in both male and female forms. Which, side note, makes it even more egregious that for some reason she can't marry female Corin, but okay. Overall, though, I would say that the S support really works for me, both in being a natural evolution of their support conversation, and in reinforcing and supporting Soleil's canonical bisexuality. In fact, if it weren't for the B support, I would say that this is overall a very good support chain. But unfortunately, the really sloppy handling of an incredibly sensitive subject hangs a damper over the entire rest of the support. It's hard to call this a cute romantic pairing when it started with what is analogous to a date rape drug. But anyway, that is the history of the Soleil controversy explained. And so no, Fire Emblem did not do conversion therapy in a side plot one time. However, lest you think I'm cutting intelligence systems too much slack, they did sloppily mishandle the idea of drugging someone's drink. This support, as I said, was received very poorly in Japan, rightly criticized, and changed for the localized version to adapt to said criticism, with the international release instead having a similar plotline but about Soleil imagining that Corin is a girl using a blindfold rather than drugs. While they probably could have reworked the drug to just be taken consensually by Soleil and solved the problem that way, Intelligence Systems is really bad at handling sensitive subjects, so I'm not surprised that they took the nuclear option and just eliminated the drug plotline altogether. And honestly, that's probably for the best with their track record. Thank you so much for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it and possibly even learned something. If you did like it, clicking the like button helps YouTube know that this sort of stuff should get pushed by the algorithm. And feel free to subscribe if you're interested in the rest of what I've got going on. I'm doing gay videos all month for Pride Month. If you are interested in financially supporting the channel, my Patreon is linked below. but please only donate if you can afford to do so. I don't want anyone going broke over Fire Emblem. Benefits include early videos, polls that influence the direction of the channel, and verbal shoutouts in all of my Friday videos. And on that note, it's time to thank the patrons. Thank you to Len, Gameboo, Karosa, Firent, Smaz Ruby, Saxon, Seraphy58, Reflect, Maren McLean, Calamity Callie, Queen Eliza, Adele, Cynthia, Jamie Collins, Maren Karen, Thick Mulder, Danielle Kalaskis, Jagan is a Nest, Julia Kyoto, Arvis, Belle Wenska, Tailored Muffin, George Granville the 7th PM, SUP, Caius Cole, Gabe the Green, Control Aegis, Joanna the Wrenchwitch, Juniper Jungbi, Ginger, Die Psych, Mean Jojo, and Autumn Kelsey. Your support makes this job not only manageable, but incredibly rewarding, and I am truly thankful for it. I hope that you, as well as everyone else who watched, has a wonderful day. Stay safe, gamers.